Please come to order. There's a quorum present. All of our court members are present. All of our legal notices have been duly posted, and the court is duly called. Is there a motion to open court?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Bailiff, please open court.
All rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session. This February 2016, Honorable Plato Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
And our invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Cantrell.
Judge and Commissioners, it's my pleasure today to introduce Pastor Glenn Davis. He attended the Apostolic Bible Institute in St. Paul, Minnesota, where he majored in theology, Christian education, and educational psychology. He was ordained into the ministry in 1971. He is a certified faith-based counselor. He helped write and co-found Liberty Institute of Faith-Based Counseling and is a member of the American Association of Christian Counselors. Pastor Glenn is the General Chairman of the Ministerial Association of Jesus Christ and International Ministerial Fellowship. He also serves on a number of national and international mission and ministry boards. His hobbies include photography, reading, computers, and travel. Glenn and Carolyn Davis were married November 17, 1979, and have been the senior pastors of Abundant Life Church since October 1st, 1980. With a heart for missions, the Davises have made over 55 mission trips. They live in Rockwall, Texas, and have a beloved poodle named Bishop. Pastor, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we are grateful today for this opportunity that we all have to stand in our great state of Texas and lift up the name of the Lord. We just pray your blessings over this court today. We pray for every elected official. We pray, God, for the great country that we all love and hold so dear. We're asking you today, God, to just grant us wisdom and grace, and in the meeting today, Lord, and the affairs that are dealt with, that you would give us and give our court your wisdom, your knowledge, and your ability to conduct the affairs of our lives. We also pray, God, for the Lesberg family today, and who have lost a father who's gone home to be with you. We just pray that you bless Rick and all the family members today and just encourage them. And the Apostle Paul calls you the God of all comfort, and we know today that you are that. So bless this family. Bless our court today. God, we thank you for your strength for each of them as they carry out their duties. Bless all of our first responders. Bless all of the men and women in uniform and the people who daily keep us safe. We plead the blood of our Lord Jesus Christ from the cross of Calvary over each of us today. And we thank you for your mercy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Our first two resolutions today will be presented by Commissioner Cantrell.
Judge and Commissioners, it's my pleasure today a real honor to introduce this resolution. If Mike Gothard and his group would come forward, and Constable Williams, if y'all come up, we'll get the whole group up. You bet. Come on up.
With the court's indulgence, I'd like to second. I rarely do this as a judge, but I'd like to second this resolution.
I'll let you do it. Press your deal. Press your
Because I almost did.
I did.
My deal doesn't seem to work, but
Yeah, but it never does. But okay.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to read the resolution and move its adoption. Whereas the Dallas County Commissioner Court recognizes and extends sincere appreciation to individuals who have given a long career of faithful service to Dallas County, and whereas Constable Michael Gothard was born and raised in Garland and was a student of the Garland Independent School District, and whereas in 1985 he began volunteering his time as a reserve deputy constable for the then Constable Don Ashlock in Garland, and later on March 1st, 1986 he became a full-time deputy for Dallas County. In 1995 he was promoted into the sergeant position, and whereas Constable Gothard was elected to his first term for the Precinct 2 office in November 2000. He began his service as an elected official in January of 2001 and served in that position for 16 years with dignity and professionalism, and he earned the respect from his peers and the community as a valuable leader. There were countless times when he stepped up and supported the request of the Commissioners Court and other county departments to provide additional efficiencies with the truancy court operations, the traffic programs, staffing standards, which further validated that he was a team player and ultimately a conscientious public servant. In 2014, he began working for the Grand Prairie Constable Roy Williams, and whereas throughout his life, Constable Gothard has selflessly served as a volunteer through his home church, New Liberty Baptist Church in Garland. He gave his life to the Lord as a teen in church camp, and that led the path to his position of deacon, assistant treasurer, finance committee member, personnel committee member, security committee member, Awana leader, and life group facilitator. He also serves as a trustee for the Mexican Baptist Institute. And whereas Constable Gothard has been married to his wife Susan for 27 years, and they have 2 children, 2 wonderful sons, Brady, who is 22, and Trenton, who is 18. Both children kept their parents busy attending their sports activities, most notably football, where their dad not only watched but was also a coach for several years. They played softball on the church team as father and sons, and these boys could not have made their parents any more proud than they do today. And whereas Constable Gothard will end his career with Dallas County on February 29th, you know it had to be a leap year, right? 2016, although that does not mean he will stop working. He and his wife also plan to travel to 35 states, adding to the 14 they have already visited, and continue their sightseeing in the most beautiful God-created nation in the world. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Constable Mike Gothard for his leadership, commitment, and dedication to Dallas County, and further wishes him continued success in his retirement. And I so move.
And I second. Proudly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
If Constable Williams wants to come forward and say a few words.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be very short because this is not about me. This day belongs to Constable Gothard. But last year, a little over a year ago now, when I made the decision to bring the constable on, there were some things said, and it happens. It's just one of those things you have to deal with. But it's like Honorable Garcia said a few weeks ago. Sometimes when you're in leadership position, you have to make choices that may not be popular with everybody, and I've learned that. And so what I saw was an opportunity to bring close to 30 years of experience to my office. And when you can surround yourself with people that know, and good people that know, that's a sign, that's a mark of leadership. And so I did not hesitate. It's been a joy and a pleasure to have Constable Gothard with me. It's just like having 2 of us for the price of 1, so to speak. But at the same time, of course, when I inherited the truancy program, it would have been foolish of me not to bring someone on board that I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. It's like, tell me what I got, and little did I know I inherited a monster. But he's been a joy to have around. He's been a pleasure to speak with. He visits me often. We bounce things off of one another, and I almost hate to see him go. But I knew this day was coming, and it's hard to believe we used to talk about it, but now that day is here. And so this day belongs to him. Again, at the risk of being repetitive, it's been a joy to have him, and this day belongs to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Constable.
Judge, Commissioners, I'm not very good at this. First, I got to thank God for the 30 years that He gave me. He gave me here at Dallas County. He's kept me safe for those 30 years. A few minor accidents, but nothing major. And I'd like to thank y'all for this resolution. When the Commissioner asked me about it, I said, you know, I'm really not like that. You come to work, you got a job to do, you just do it. And but anyway, I'd like to introduce my family, standing here behind me, my lovely wife, who's gotten me through these 30 years, and my 2 sons, Brady and Trenton, and my sister, Cheryl, and my mother and father-in-law, Bob and Carol. And I'd like to thank all of them, because without them, I could not have done this. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet. That way I don't start tearing up like I'm already almost done it. I will miss this. I look around the room, so many people that I worked with, Daryl, Ryan, You know, we didn't always agree, but we agreed to disagree.
Nobody agrees with
And we had some rough times, but we got through them. And I just want to say thank you to all of y'all, and I appreciate this.
You're
Thank you.
testing us on our math. You've been here 30 years. You've been married 27. So how did you make it the first those 3?
It was hard.
Well, I just want to say as well, it was a pleasure, to work with you, Constable. And you were always available. You always, made things flow. There was a saying around the county that there's a certain group that's probably less than 5% of the workforce, but caused us 95% of the challenges. I won't talk about what that group is, but you made it all work, and so thank you.
Well, I'm going to let Mike get the last word, even though the judge normally does that because he's known you the longest. But I just want to say, sincerely, as a friend and from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate your integrity and you standing in the gap for those children who were missing school and helping them get back into school and graduate. I think what Roy may be referring to is the fact that you're a Republican and we're Democrats, and maybe some Democrats and Republicans didn't like that. But from my mind, I want to be surrounded by people with integrity who are smart and who work hard. And you did that, and you just had an incredible passion for those children. And I so appreciate being a teammate with you in the time that I've been here.
Good. Well, I'll just say, I was just of the peace when Michael came to work for Don Ashlock. And he was just a young, skinny kid at that time, But he advanced up because he does have that work ethic, did an extremely good job. He was always the go-to person when we needed somebody to go to, and we appreciate that. And Constable Williams, I appreciate you taking the constable in and helping him finish out his career. That says a whole lot about you, and we appreciate that. But, I've been through a lot of the campaigns with Michael and Susan and the boys, and you're a good friend and did a good job for Dallas County. Thank you. The next resolution I have is for Gregory Johnson, who works with CSCD for his 25 years of service to Dallas County. He was unable to be here today, but I'm going to move its adoption and it'll be presented to him. So I so move.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our next resolution or next set of resolutions, I should say, are from Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Judge, colleagues, everyone here today. I have the honor of presenting these 4 resolutions, and I'm going to ask the 4 of them to come forward. Mr. Tom Neville, Chris Harrelson, John Cernero, and Sue Inurrigarro. If they can come forward to the podium. Members of the audience, as you all know, a big part of what we do in Dallas County is transportation. And transportation sometimes could not happen without having the best partners. And those partners are the people that represent entities that have to help us. We could not do what we do without their help. And that's utility movement, utilities that are surrounded every project that we do. So these are special recognitions because I do have to say, honestly, I've been in some of those meetings, and even when I do not sleep at night, those meetings can put me out to sleep in within 10 minutes. So I really appreciate the work that you all do for us, for Dallas County, and for all the municipalities in which we have the honor to work as public servants. So I'm going to go ahead and read one by one resolution, if that's okay, Ms. Blair, with you, and then you go first and the rest. Okay, so the first one is, for Mr. Tom Neville. Mr. Neville, can you please come forward? and it reads as follows. Whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes a special notice and acknowledges when an individual and their employer have contributed and provided exceptional service to Dallas County and its projects partners under the Mayor Capital Improvement Program. And whereas the Dallas County Public Works Department has recognized Tom Neville as the 2015 Special Partner Recognition Award recipient, whereas the county expresses sincere appreciation to Tom and his team with Dallas Area Rapid Transit, DART, and Trinity River Express, TRE, for their exemplary utility coordination efforts in connection with county projects, including Medical District Drive and the Denton Drive projects. On the Medical District Drive, the project scopes includes raising the TRE Railroad Bridge to allow the roadway below be raised out of the floodplain, and on Denton Drive. Tom was especially helpful in coordinating with the Dallas, Garland, and Northeastern Region Railroad as his design and consultant. And while Tom has served as a liaison with several departments within DART and TRE organizational tree, the engineering and right-of-way and accounting has been done. Without this coordination, timely review of bridge plans, responses to property inquiries, and the processing of invoices, these projects will not have been possible in the desired time frames. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Tom Neville for all his hard work and extra efforts in helping keep many of Dallas County MCIP projects on schedule and successful. And I so move.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Josh. Our second recipient is Chris Harrelson. Mr. Harrelson, where Dallas County Public Works Department has recognized Chris Harrelson as the 2015 Special Utility Partner in Recognition Award recipient, and whereas the county expresses its sincere appreciation to Chris Harrelson through Encore Electric Delivery for his exemplary utility coordination efforts in connection with county projects, including Cockrell Hill Road project in the city of Cockrell Hill. And whereas his commitment to work as an effective team member, coupled with his effort and support and shared vision to help maximize the overall success of the utility coordination phase for this project, and kept this project on schedule as well. Without question, Mr. Harrison's diligent work was a primary contributor to the success in meeting the scheduled target to complete utility relocations on the project. Whereas his accountability, initiative, and adaptability throughout this project utility coordination phase represents the benchmark for teamwork in project implementation, and Mr. Harrison demonstrates Dallas County Public Works Partners' principle of trust, commitment, and shared vision. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Chris Harrelson for all his hard work and extra efforts in helping keep many of Dallas County NCIC projects on schedule and successful. And I so move.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Our third resolution goes to John Cernero. John. Whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes a special notice and acknowledges when an individual and their employer has contributed and provided exceptional service to Dallas County and its projects. Whereas the Dallas County Public Works Department recognized John Cernero as its 2015 Utility Design Partnering Award recipient. And Mr. Cernero is a professional who understood what was needed to make his portion of this county project successful, and that was with Dallas Water Utilities facilities on the Spring Valley Road project in the city of Richardson. Whereas he met the project manager in the office several times and in the field early in the morning to assure that Dallas Water Utilities were well coordinated with the design of the Spring Valley Road project, and where Mr. Cernero has been proactive and a problem solver in this project, and his resolve has yielded expedient and cost-efficient results. Whereas by these examples, Mr. Cernero has demonstrated Dallas County Public Works Partners' principles of trust, commitment, and shared vision. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does recognize and extend sincere appreciation to John Cernero for all his hard work and extra efforts in helping keep many of Dallas County MCIC projects on a schedule and successful. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Last but not least, the lady in the group, Mrs. Sue Inurrigarro. I did say it correctly, right, Sue?
Yes, thank you.
It helps to speak Spanish sometimes. And whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes a special notice and acknowledges when an individual and their employer have contributed and provided exceptional service to Dallas County and its projects, the Dallas County Public Works Department recognized Sue Inurrigarro as its 2015 Utility Partner of the Year Award recipient. And this award pretty much is going through Atmos Energy for her great partnering spirit on the I-35 Frontage Road, Denton Drive Phase 1 and SOPAC Phase 4A projects, and where Mrs. Inurrigarro has consistently attended meetings and provided efficient updates and schedules from Atmos Energy, which contribute valuable data to maintain the overall project in schedule. Whereas she is an expert on Atmos Energy gas lines and has provided her knowledge and expertise effectively to the Atmos contractors working on these projects. She is truly a valuable partner in the county's endeavor to take utilities to the next level and strongly demonstrates our focus. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Sue Inurrigarro for all her hard work and extra efforts in helping keep many of Dallas County MCIC projects on a schedule and successful, and very successful. And I so move.
And I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Ms. Blair, you want to start before our recipients speak?
Just a few words. And I just want to say that these partners here, they really represent, we just named a few projects, but many of these people have worked on many of the projects throughout all of the districts of Dallas County. And again, because of their help and because of what they've done, it's keeping us focused on getting their work done. And I know Dr. Garcia's been in many meetings on Medical District, and she's heard what we've had to do. And Commissioner Price, of course, you've been there, right there on Pleasant Run. So many of these are people, key partners that are making sure that we get the work done. And with that, I'm going to see if any of their bosses want to have anything to say about them.
I'm Ed Ostrovich. I work for Atmos Energy, and I'd like to thank Alberta for bringing us all together, all the utility companies, for the designs that we work with them are the most economical and safe designs that we can do, and also the friendships that we get with all of our partners. And I'd like to thank for Sue Inurrigarro for getting the Utility Designer of the Year.
Good morning. We would just, from DART, Maureen McCollum, Tom Neville's supervisor. We just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for working with us and being great partners for the Medical District Drive project. It's going to provide not only a benefit to the TRE, but also to the county, the Medical District, TxDOT, the Dallas City, and county. So we're very appreciative of this project and everything that it's going to do to improve TRE service. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jim Chase. I'm the Major Design Manager for Encore, working with roadway relocation projects, and it's my privilege to be here before you again this morning. Very appreciative of the recognition. Thank you so very much for that. I just want to extol once again what an asset you have in Alberta Blair and her team. I've got to tell you, she knows how to make this coordination thing work. And I just can't tell you how much we appreciate her and all the efforts that she puts into it. So kudos to you all and to Alberta and her team for everything that's been accomplished. We appreciate it very much.
Jim, thank you. Is there another boss back there that needs to talk? Okay. Jim, I really want to appreciate you being here. I don't think sometimes we're streaming these meetings and the public has no clue. First of all, how long it takes for a project to come to design, to fruition. By the time the public sees it, we spent the last 4, 5 years and sometimes longer in just design. But years ago, Alberta and the Colonel and all, they figured out that if we were going to make this model work, we had to have utility corporation. And what's interesting to me when we talk about infrastructure, we basically think about, water, sewer. Well, let me just tell you, some of us are in the older sectors of this community. We've got gas lines and other utility structures that have been out there for 50, 60 years and are really coming to their maturity in terms of how we need to redesign what's going on in that area. And so I just really appreciated all of the meetings, and we have meetings monthly with regards to most of these projects, and you guys are always at the table. And so I too want to sign on and say thank you, because unfortunately, most of that design work is now going on, in this Carter, southeast sector, and we're trying to catch up with the rest of the world. So thank you. Thank you for your energy and your effort.
The reality is nothing that we do could be done without your help. Utilities are everywhere in this city now, in this county, and we really appreciate your effort and always readiness to come and help. We usually have time frames, timelines that if they're not met, it means money or we lose funding. So thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your work for Dallas County.
Thank you.
I think we want a picture with our recipients, Ms. Blair, so we're going to go ahead and ask the 4 of them to come forward.
All of them, bosses and all.
Yes, everybody.
Everyone, come on.
Unless you all don't want to be in the picture, that's okay too.
Yeah, we want all of them. Yeah, that's what I said.
Come on,
all
everybody come
yeah,
down.
I said everybody.
Let's make it a full house.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You got to keep on moving.
Miss Alberta, there we go. Oh, I'll give it to you now.
Okay. Great, got it. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Always. Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Could I indulge the court for just a moment, if I could? Because I would like to recognize Airman First Class Gonzalez, if she would please come, just step forward a little bit. You may not recognize Airman First Class Gonzalez because she's also Elvira Gonzalez, who has been, she started out as an intern in my office from Skyline High School, and then I hired her. She's now a full-time student at UTA and works part-time with me, but she has just completed her basic training in the Air Force, And I'm just real proud of what she's doing, not only for Dallas County and all the people here, but stepping up and saying what she can do for the rest of the country and our safety and security. So congratulations, Airman Gonzalez.
And may I also have a moment of privilege? I have Ms. Fabiola Segovia. Ms. Segovia is a UNT Law School student, second year here in downtown. She's currently interning with Judge Thompson in Probate Court number 1. She is a board member of Law Review, focusing on writing in Spanish about topics that affect the Hispanic community. She plans to practice probate law, targeting the Hispanic community in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And she lives in Cedar Hills. She's Commissioner's Prize constituent. So, Ms. Segovia, thank you for being here with us. She has never attended one of our meetings. I hope you find our job interesting and exciting. But we want you to stay in probate court. Sounds good. Thank you for being here, Ms. Segovia. Appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
And I have the last resolution, which I'll move for adoption. But before I do, I want to commend this Commissioners Court. This resolution deals with the public power pool. And the public power pool is an aggregator of counties. It includes Harris County, Tarrant County, a lot of counties, Dallas County, and it purchases power. Back in around 2008, when Energy Future Holdings was created and everyone thought natural gas prices would go up, groups like this bet on gas prices going up. And so for a brief time, our prices were a little bit higher than market, but 2008, 2009, 2010. Many entities, many counties, and many cities and school districts that were a part of this group were approached by retail power companies and enticed to move away from aggregation. The commissioners held strong to that and would not move away from that. As a result, over the last 5 years, we've worked on aggregation and kind of a dirty word out in the public, but hedging, which is betting on things into the future to try to minimize your downside. And as a result of that, we cut the power by more than the cost of the power by more than 50% for Dallas County. We're also in a position now to where our contracts are beginning to expire again, so we can capture the historically low markets again and probably try to take a long position in that for as many years as we can get. But it's because the court did not do what, and I don't want to name any names of our partners, what many of our partners did, which was succumb to the temptation to leave that pool. Our partners who left the pool are all paying substantially higher prices at this point than I mean substantially higher prices than the county is. So this is I won't read the whole thing, but this is a resolution to reappoint me to the public power pool for a couple more years. I also want to thank members of our business community, Pioneer Natural Resources, and others who are not power providers but buy sufficient enough power that they've been able to be advisors to Judge Emmett and I as we work on this issue. So I'll move for its adoption. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And I just want to recognize the work you've done there, Judge, because it's, one of the things that was not mentioned is public power pool is a matter of timing. You have to be in the time frame to be able to lock some of the best rates that we were able to have, like you mentioned. So thank you.
Well, and I hope everyone will remember when we guess wrong, right? Because it is glorified guessing. We guess wrong. We guess right 5 or 6 times. So.
Hey, so far it has worked in our advantage. So hey.
We're beginning our presentations. We got a group of dignitaries here that we want to take now the beginning of our presentations. Would Bishop Michael McKee of the North Texas Conference of United Methodist Church, Reverend Larry George, the Director of Missional Outreach and Assistant to the Bishop of the North Texas Conference, Reverend Margie Hill, and you can take pictures, okay. And
Dr. Sharon.
yeah, that's what I thought. But I got you just taking pictures. You can get up there. I tell you what. Hang on a second, Sharon or Reverend Ruby or something. Ruby, can you come up or Lauren? One of y'all come up and take pictures so we can get Dr. Patterson in the picture.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. All right, and I tell you what, Doug, can you come up too, since you helped find our wonderful community partners. So we have. That's a point and shoot, Lauren. So if you'll just come over and Sherrod can show you and. All right, jump in there. So we're going to hear later about Sand Branch and some things about the Sand Branch community, things that we're doing. But in the last court session, I asked Mr. Bass, who's in the back there and kind of hiding and never wants to take credit for anything, to reach out through our VOAB partners and see if we could find someone who would be of help on water. And the idea that we had was, at a minimum, in the short run, we should be able to get some drinking water out to folks. And so I'm sure people are familiar with water coolers at their work, and you've got water coolers that have a hot button and a cold button, and you put the big 5-gallon water into the top, and you can get water out of that. And so what we ask our Methodist partners we ask all of our partners, and I'm proud that it was our Methodists that stepped up to do it, but what we asked was that people look to purchase those stations so that we can look, and we'll discuss that later, on how to maybe get some water to put in those stations. And this is this is not the end of what we're doing with Sand Branch. Let me make that clear. But this is a first step on the way to trying to address some of the severe needs of that community. So with that, I want to turn it over to Bishop McKee. Bishop.
So thank you, Judge. When we received the email, Margie Hill in our office, missional office, received the email from Chief Doug Bass, whom we only know as the county emergency manager. We immediately replied yes, that we could be helpful. We know that it's just a temporary solution, a way in which providing drinking water to the residents of Sand Branch. We also want the court to know that, the Commissioner's Court to know that we're working with partners in the community. We're not just going in, doing it ourselves, but working with partners so that we can provide ways in which persons can have, families can have drinking water. And so we partnered with United Methodist Committee on Relief, which is our disaster relief agency for the United Methodist Church, who's glad to help us make this grant, in which we'll be purchasing those water coolers and ways in which then people can have drinking water, at least drinking water in their home. And we're glad to do that. We'll continue working with Chief Bass and our other partners in the Sand Branch community to be helpful to meeting this human need in the short term while we still work on the Sand Branch community. So we're glad to be helpful, judges. Thank you for having us today.
Let me ask you, what are you doing now that we weren't doing 15 years ago with St. Luke?
What are we doing now?
Yeah, what are we doing now that we didn't do 15 years ago with St. Luke? St. Luke did the same identical thing, and it has been doing it consistently for 15 years.
I think that we're ramping up our response to Sand Branch. Commissioner Price. That's what we're doing. And so certainly St. Luke community, as you know, is a part of that effort.
And they've been there for the last 15 years, water, so has the North Texas Food Bank, so has Concord Baptist Church. They've all been there. This community has not gone without water.
Correct. We did receive a request for some more help, and we just wanted to step in to be helpful.
And in touring the church and some of the homes of the people in San Branch a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go out and fellowship with people as they got their food from the North Texas Food Bank at the church on a Saturday morning. I did go into some of the houses, and I didn't see these water cooler heater units that you're providing and graciously providing. I didn't see any in any of the houses. If they had them in the past, they're gone now. And so what you're doing is going to be a tremendous help to many people. It's not that, as we said, and I think we all agree up here, it's not the total answer, but it's a tremendously welcome thing, and it's greatly appreciated by this court.
We're glad to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless y'all.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm gonna hold all this posture and shit. I'm not trying to embarrass you in front of your guests, but this is
we also did receive some quotes on water. I don't know if you'd like Mr. Garza and Mr. Bass to talk a little bit about
you want to do that now? Let's do that now. You want to do that now? With the court's indulgence, I think for some reason we put that way at the back, but since we've just talked about water, you want to keep talking about water and knock the water out? Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Judge. Purchasing Department obtained several quotes from our local vendors with two line items addressing the dispensing unit and the bottle, the water container, which is a 50-gallon water unit. So we obtained quotes from about 5 or 6 local vendors, and the lowest responsible quote received was from Lowe's. So the unit itself, at the unit cost for the dispenser was $92.07, and the water 50-gallon water unit was $13.02. So we had a quantity of 50 units per line item. So the total cost is.
You mean 5-gallon, don't you?
Yes, sir. Correct. 5.
You're saying.
Sorry.
It's okay.
The total cost of this procurement is $5,254.50.
Or 5 times?
Dan, and if you could break that down for us, are you including in that the units that the Methodist Church is buying?
Well, this is straight cost from Lowe's itself to procure.
Is that just water, or is that also the box unit?
Well, if we looked at a quantity of 50 we talked about 50 household as aggregate. So if you're using the 50 in quantity times the $92.07, that line item is $4,603.50.
I think you're right, Judge. That includes the units. What we're looking at is just the water. So the water charge, I believe, was $13. So
right, that's what I'm trying. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying? Methodists are paying for the units, right? That $4,600, we're not going to be asking the commissioners for. Right. How much are we asking for water? Or how much is the water?
The water itself is $681. Yes, I'm sorry, $651.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
For what?
So a week, per month, what?
Yeah, what?
I think it's per month.
Per month, it is per month.
But we've had that much water. We get that much water donated all the time. I mean, that's what I was telling the bishop. We've been donating that much water. We get that much water donated all the time. That's not the issue.
Well, so the water that's donated, the water that was given out 2 Saturdays ago.
No, constantly.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, in speaking to the residents and going to their homes and looking at the water situation, here's the situation. They're getting some bottled water, like in Ozarka bottled water. They're getting a lot of canned seltzer water, the water that is the underlying water that makes soft drinks and bubbled beverages, in the cans. They are getting people to haul water from the gravel pit to fill their septic, their above ground plastic tanks that they flush their toilets from. But what these are 5-gallon bottles that have a male on the top, and you turn that over into the units that the Methodists are providing, and that would provide them with warm or with hot and cold potable drinking water that they didn't have to boil and didn't have to get out of a bottle or a can. And so we looked at a couple of things for the court to consider. One is we looked at looking at TCEQ partners. That's the Texas Commission for Environmental Quality. They have trucks that they can bring out that have water in them. But there was a concern that and those trucks have clean water in them. And there's a concern, though, that if the water comes out of the truck and goes into a receptacle that was not itself sterile, that there would be, a chance for someone to get sick or an infection to ensue, and it would be unclear where that came from. And so this would provide water that is from the bottler capped, and they would get a capped bottle of water. The bottle could be opened and put into the receptacle in the short run. And so what we're asking the court to consider is this relatively small amount of money on this. We hope to have much more clarity on this after March 22nd. I know EPA's engaged and TCQ's engaged and your office is engaged and my office and my emergency management office is engaged. So I'm hopeful that we can come up with some long-term solutions. But in the short run, this is a stopgap measure for the court to consider. It's what are we talking about? A 60-day contract that we'd be looking at?
We talked about 1 to 2 month service.
So that's 691 times 2.
So what you're saying that there's a number of ways that a household uses water.
Correct.
They use it for cleaning, for washing dishes, for sanitary reasons, and there's also drinking water. And what you're saying is what we're doing today is complementing with the drinking water piece.
The hope is, and what I heard from the residents when we, surveyed the residents, and the pastor tells me that there's up to 75 people there, but I had a chance to visit with about 35 of those people, so it's a decent sampling of the people. The water is very precious, and they don't, drink that bottle of water until they're very, very thirsty. The idea of this would be to make water more readily available, to people. It still isn't the same as everyone else in the county has, but it's a humane stopgap as we look for ways to address this situation more holistically. It's something that I'm told by the residents and the pastor there, it would be very helpful to them. And so, I hope the court will consider that contract. It is great that we've got our faith partners involved, and the Methodist Church has taken on like 80% of the cost of this, but the distribution of water we'd ask the court to consider.
Well, again, I support the water. I've said that to Chief Bass, and they stored the water out in my unit. I just find all of this real peculiar. Like I said, we've done all of this, and we've been doing this. And the only thing you may have added, the fact that they want to do a unit now that says hot and cold. But if you visited the first or the second time that area, you know, whatever. You know the real long-term issue, Judge, is not this Band-Aid. It's about relocating those individuals. I mean, everybody, you don't want to deal with the elephant in the room. You got to relocate.
I want to deal with that.
Well, and the same thing we told EPA, and that the reason we got a second meeting is because the only reason Dallas County stopped what they were doing is because FEMA said, you can't do it. And so EPA has come in now. TCEQ, again, was a part of the first proposal. So I don't have any problem with any of this. Like I said, at some point in time, let's deal with the issue of relocating the people. And unless you're going to relocate them, none of this matters. You talk about those septic tanks are out of compliance. Mr. Thompson will tell you.
No question.
Okay, so that's contaminating the groundwater. It's not going to get any better. Sulfur, the livestock situation, contaminated. People need to be relocated. Unless somebody's willing to take that courage and say, we're going to relocate them. You can do it for 60 days. We did it for 15 years and been doing it. So it's not as though we've ignored what's going on in Sand Branch. We just, let's talk about relocation.
Well, please don't take any of this as a criticism of anyone. I'm simply working with FEMA, the EPA, the Commissioners Court, TCEQ, the faith community, and everyone, and the people of Sand Branch to try to come to a resolution for a problem that's been around for a long time that I think we all agree we want to address.
That we have been addressing.
I don't want to argue semantics with anyone, and I think this is a positive thing for the people of Sand Branch, and by no means is anyone saying anything negative about anyone. We just are looking to work with everyone to address the problem.
Judge, are you saying that it's a health and safety problem out there? Is that your emergency for doing this? Is that where you're going with this? If it's a health and safety problem, then we need legal looking into it, and then we can get those people out of there. We gave them that option. They didn't want to get out. If you're saying it's a health and safety reason now, it's time for them to move.
Well,
and temporary Band-Aiding it for 60 days isn't going to do it.
Let me answer that question. So TCEQ would be the arbiter of that question. TCEQ is doing well sample analysis now. Okay. They're sampling other things. They're going to get back to us, hopefully before our March 22nd meeting. Okay. But the reason, and some people have asked that, I know the court all knows this, but just so the public knows, why are you waiting until March 22nd? We're not waiting until March 22nd. There's a lot that is going on. We hope to have the information on March 22nd so we can have a meaningful discussion about this. But TCEQ will be looking at that. If you're saying,
so what's the process?
What's the process?
TCEQ says it's a danger. Well, is it the county that moves them out, or is it TCEQ that moves them out?
EPA, TCEQ, the Commissioner Price, myself, USDA, some members of Congress, many people will be meeting and discussing
that wasn't my question. What's the process?
The process is we're going to have to get the testing and the science done first.
And if you have that information, they say it's a danger for those people to continue to reside there.
My understanding from FEMA, this is my understanding from FEMA, and without getting into, I don't want to get into, I think FEMA should speak for themselves. I don't think, we should necessarily speak from FEMA.
I don't speak for FEMA.
But it's my understanding from FEMA that we don't have the ability to force home. Remember that this land, most of these people have either they have a deed or they are renting this property. Now the renting thing is something we need to look at, but for the deeded people, as opposed to squatters, people who have no right to be there, for deeded people who were in compliance when they built their homes, because we didn't have any floodplain water restrictions a long time ago, There's not a federal or state or local mechanism to force people to move. And there's...
That's who's there, Judge, the ones that were grandfathered.
And we know that. But I'm talking about a health and safety reason. If you're saying it's a danger for them to be out there, TCQ is the one that makes that determination?
TCQ will look at the quality of the water, the septic, the contamination issues, and how to remediate that short of a water line if possible.
Okay, is that the March 22nd report?
No. Well, it's the March 22nd meeting, and we hope to have that back. I don't run TCQ, so I can't tell you when they're going to get that, back. But if the question is, why did the churches get involved?
Mr. Thompson, haven't we already run Mr. Jenkins, we've already run the samplings on the wells, right? Correct?
They're contaminated.
They're contaminated.
Right.
How so? We've already done all that. Septic tank, don't we regulate their septic tanks?
Correct.
Okay. So we've already done all of it. That's what's so interesting about it. Wait just a minute. We've already done, they're non-compliant. We did even on the livestock hog pens, largest brucellosis outbreak in the state of Texas. And they came in and basically exterminated that area. Correct?
Well, we moved all the pig farms out.
We moved all the pig farms out.
One out there now.
There's one out there now. So we do have the authority. I think what Commissioner Cantrell said, under the health and safety code, again, those people out there remove the squatters or a grandfather.
That's right.
And so as a result, tell me, or tell us what's going to be different after we get through meeting. And when we met with EPA, Mr. Lesberg, Ms. Blair, all of us, the attorney, we met with them. And they basically said, kind of hands up, and it's on us. So we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to make a declaration under the health and safety code that it's not, that it's not safe for them to live there, and then we're going to force it.
Well, I understand that's your thought, and I respect your opinion.
No, I want legal. I think that's legal.
And didn't we ask, Mr. Martin and the legal department, last time we had this conversation to do exactly that?
Right. And what we ask is that we wait until after March 22nd to have a presentation before the court, because we want to see what TCOQ, EPA, FEMA, everybody else is recommending, so that we can get together. And then I need to get together Mr. Thompson, legal, Mr. Losberg, and we have a presentation that we recommend to you folks the direction we like.
So, Judge, what you're saying is we wait till March 22nd when staff is going to bring a recommendation to us saying exactly what Commissioner Cantrell and Commissioner Price are saying. What are the solutions?
What are the solutions, right?
Okay.
What I'm hearing from all the commissioners is a desire to do this. I'm hearing, frustration from the part of the commissioners who've been here that they're saying, well, we're not going to be able to do anything different because of these reasons. And I appreciate that, and that may, in fact, be the case. My conversations are with the EPA, regional administrators and higher, the FEMA regional administrators and higher. So people are engaged in this. We're trying to look at this with new eyes and see if we can come up with a solution. It may be that we can't, but I think everyone agrees that we may not be able to do everything, but we can do something, and I think we're doing that today. And I appreciate your direction on the water, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to work with our federal and state partners to see if we can help these people, because I think we all agree that in the 21st century, people shouldn't live in Dallas County without water.
Not these people, this community. The Judge, Roden.
Well, but there are real children of God people in that community.
Yeah, but these people is not the appropriate, is this community. And again, we've been helping this community forever, regardless who's there. Even to the point that we've gone back in the archives and pulled information that apparently some of you don't have access to. Judge, under the health and safety code, Judge Roden, under the health and safety code, that power vests with the county.
The county.
Yes, it does. And we've been asked by administration to prepare an analysis of the various types of enforcement mechanisms, whether they're building codes or whether they be the health and safety code. We have different things that may or may not be applicable. For instance, building codes, it depends on the time period when those were out there. Some of those, as has been pointed out, same with the same with the floodplain, may have grandfathered. But we have been asked to look at all possible vehicles from a legal side so that we can set forth what each vehicle is, whether or not it's allowed, so that we can present it to the decision maker so they can decide what route they choose to take as a policy matter.
Okay. So then we'll be kept apprised of first of all, what the situation is, and then what the options are going to be. And in the meantime, at least they'll have potable water.
60 days.
And I will add what I believe will be part of meetings that are going to be with some of these other agencies. I will say at this point, we as legal are unaware of what's being communicated with or being told to the federal agencies that have been mentioned. So
You might want to bring legal into it.
Yeah, why can't we have some conversation?
Okay, yeah, I think we can bring the DA, and I think the AG will be involved in that. So.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
And so I think what we got from the court, a lot of different thoughts there, but the consensus of the court on the water, as we heard, was to move forward. And so we can, my understanding, Dan, is that we can go ahead and move forward, bring back a contract to retroactively get that paid. The first 5 gallons will be delivered by the Methodist with the units, and we'll need to, get out there pretty quick with the replacement, because when it runs out, you open the new one, you pick it up, you put it in there.
And you're sure that $600 is for a month?
I think it's per delivery. So,
but what you're saying is $600 per 50 dwellings per month. So we're talking $1,200. You're sure?
I have, for 5-gallon water times 50 units, they're $13.02, totaling $651.
Okay, wait, that won't be a month then. Hang on. Okay. So I think what we talked about, Dan, and is guess. I think your guess, based on somebody at Lowe's telling you this, was that was each household or each person used a gallon a day? I can't remember. But so if you're assuming a gallon a day for each unit, then every 5 days it's $600, right? Right?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So it'd be 600 times 6, roughly. $3,600 a month is actually what you're talking about. Okay. So what I'm asking for is for the next 2 months, the court look at doing this. I think one of the questions that Commissioner, now that I'm trying to get a handle on one of Commissioner Cantrell's questions, and I think what you may have been asking is, well, why did VOAD get involved? Is that part of? No, not okay. Well, so, but if we could find our way to do that, I hope the court will consider that.
You're putting a cap at $7,200
for now. Yeah, for
60 days.
Well, it's what is 6 times whatever you just said. And actually, I left a day off at 31 months, but there's only 29 in this one, so yeah, that'll work. What is that? I'm not sure that is 72. It might be 74. I don't know what it is.
We'll just 75.
75. No.
Just go ahead and do it.
Just
At 75.
as to borrow a phrase, just do it. It's just a tale. Because it's still partially and band-aiding. It's not the real solution. And it's really interesting. You do all this. You can't, whether it's 5 gallons or a bottle, people can't bathe in a bottle of water.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. All of this, I hear all of this, and that's fine, drinking, but they can't bathe in it. And you said if they get bringing water to flush their septic tanks out of a deal, that's.
Yeah, it's very inhumane, and we need to do something.
Yeah, relocate them. Anyway, let's.
So I have 651 times 6 is 3,906. For 2 months, it's 7,812.
Yeah.
So just say 8,000.
Okay.
Cap it at 8.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Well, and I appreciate the court's moving on that. Our next unless there's anything else on that, our next presentation is from the Department of Health and Human Services.
And Mr. Thompson, I did call for Officer McGee.
Right.
And I did the same thing that the judges were talking about today under the Health and Safety Code. I'd asked for Officer McGee to present what we have done traditionally, what the power of your office is under the Health and Safety Code. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, we'll move swiftly to our Zika update. Most of the material you've received, and so we'll go to the next slide. Ryan, thanks for moving forward. You'll see delineated our DCHHS efforts that have been publicized in terms of our various activities. I want to thank Commissioner Price, Chair of our Public Health Advisory Committee, for convening a meeting with our cities. We're planning a second meeting with them, but we give them updates. We'll go to the next slide. Of course, everyone knows that our lab is able to provide testing, and so that's a great game changer for health departments throughout the nation, but the fact that we're able to have the first lab in Texas to be able to do the Zika testing is a testament to all of our staff. Sometimes I find it amazing, if we're going to play the same game where we single out groups, I'm going to have a real problem. The bottom line, all of our Dallas County Health and Human Services staff work 24/7. Let's go to the next slide. The transmission, as was identified in terms of, we looked at 2 areas. Dr. Perkins will go more in detail in terms of mosquito-borne transmission, mosquito infection, and then the sexually contact. And so we have health advisory. And so I'm going through this pretty swiftly because we've already covered this a million times. I'm amazed by the questions we continue to have. If you go to our Dallas County Health and Human Services website, everything I'm covering is on that website. And then I would encourage any resident that have a specific question, they can call my office. I'm there 7 days a week, so we can answer that question specifically.
In 10 languages.
Yeah, in 10 languages.
Different languages.
Also, we provided the document where you can see the various languages that have been provided. We have here this morning, I'll come back at the end, we have our top nurse, Tamara Scroggins, who heads up our public health response activity as well, communicable disease. But I'm going to bring on the top doc to go through swiftly on transmission and some other items. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Director Thompson. Good morning, Commissioners Court, citizens of Dallas County. As far as the clinical summary of Zika activity within our county, we've had 3 confirmed cases, 2 associated with travel to areas where the mosquitoes carry the virus, being the tropics, Central America and South America, as well as the Caribbean. We have a 3rd case that was confirmed that did not travel due to a sexual association with one of the other travelers. In regards to travel advisories from the CDC as well as the state, the World Health Organization, any woman that's considering becoming pregnant or women that are pregnant are advised to avoid travel to the tropics where the mosquitoes are carrying this virus. In regards to the severity of the illness, it's relatively mild. The major concern with Zika infection is that it can result in birth defects in fetuses that are being carried by mothers that are infected with the virus. So our advice to all individuals to keep in mind that mosquitoes are the main transmission route for Zika infection, dengue, chikungunya, as well as West Nile. So our campaign message to everyone, our mosquito season is right around the corner, that you utilize the 4 Ds, that you practice personal protection by using insect repellent all day, every day. The Zika threat is more from the daytime mosquitoes, and we are quite aware that the West Nile virus is more so the nighttime mosquitoes. But we need to look for breeding sites and eliminate those incubators where mosquitoes nourish their young and they can eventually become a burdensome to us because the flying mosquito are the biting mosquitoes. So let's look for standing water and let's act accordingly. We are our neighbor's keeper. We need to look and address this issue, this threat, as a community. Yes, ma'am.
So, but what you're saying is that it's the mosquito transmits the virus, and then there is a health response that humans have from the virus, right?
Right. These viruses that I mentioned, Zika, dengue, and chikungunya, this is what we're advising the medical community, because those three viruses are circulating in the tropics in the Western Hemisphere. So when a person returns back to Dallas County with symptoms kind of like a flu-like illness and with that recent travel, we have to test for all three, because one could come back with dengue, which can result in repeated infections, because the others, Zika and chikungunya, if you're infected with those, you have lifetime immunity. The main concern is, again, is that this Zika virus can impact future generations by being passed on to unborn children. So regardless of the virus threat, the main thing is that we practice personal protection to avoid getting mosquito bites. So the diagnosis of our health advisors, a lot of this has already been addressed previously, is that to our medical community, take a history. If the person has a travel history, that they can contact the medical provider can contact the Dallas County lab, and we will get a sample, and we are now in a process where we can do Zika testing in our local laboratory versus sending it off to the CDC, which incurred a long time as far as getting those results back. And it'll help us in regard to our mosquito mitigation activities during the mosquito season. Fortunately, the travelers that have imported this virus back to our county has been during the time when the mosquitoes here that can carry the virus are not active. So we're in the off season with mosquito season, but nevertheless, our campaign now is start preparing by utilizing the 4Ds to avoid mosquito bites today as well as throughout the summer until we get back into the off season, which will be late October, November time frame. Next slide. So again, the precaution for everyone. Next slide. And for those that are traveling to the tropics, keep in mind there's going to be the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, and there might be quite a few North Texans that are considering taking that trip. That when you seek your place of residence during the travel to the games, that you seek hotels that have air conditioning, have screened windows and doors to minimize the mosquitoes getting into your living quarters and potentially biting you. And at all times that you continue to utilize personal protection when you're out in the environments in the tropics. Next slide. Again, I've already given the indication for women that are pregnant, are considering pregnant, becoming pregnant, that they avoid travel to those areas. And this slide here illustrates all those countries in our part of the world that are actually carrying the virus in their local mosquito population. Next slide. There's a map illustrating such. Next slide.
So basically, we'll end with the concept. As you know, the concept is that our lab has been on the forefront from Ebola response and now Zika testing. And so we're looking at adding, and I've given you a corrected presentation. I thought that's what I gave Ryan, the updated one. We're looking at adding, and I wanted permission from the court to discuss with budget to look at 2 positions. One is a microbiologist, but I want to add one more mosquito technician.
1 or 3, Mr.
Well, I'm sorry, it's 3 technicians. It's one, did you leave me, Ryan?
One.
Right, it's one microbiologist, and I want to get one more position in the mosquito control. That position is unnamed. Right now, I want to do some more discussion with our cities, because we're taking on our contract cities. We're doing the testing, collecting the mosquitoes. We're doing the testing in our lab, and so that's added additional workflow. Let me be real clear, because everybody gets this misinformation wrong. Our lab has enough people to stand up on our current situation. We're planning for taking on additional testing, and so that's what we're positioning ourselves for. And so it's just the
and on our conference task force meeting the other day, our partners are all in, and we really appreciate them. They were all there, but they are looking to Dallas County in terms of its continued leadership in this area. And so it's no different than, like you said, West Nile, but the fact that Chikungunya and Zika has added a whole different element to the
testing capacity that we want to expand based on two things. One, we're now doing the human testing in our lab. Also, we're moving, and this is preliminary, so people may run with this, but preliminarily, we're looking at doing the mosquito testing in the lab as well. And so we're trying to build capacity. Right now, it's our understanding that no one is doing the mosquito testing. And so we want to be able to do that testing. I'm not making a commitment. I'm saying we're promising to move forward with doing that testing.
Getting ahead of the curve.
That's it.
Just getting ahead.
And I think that is, fantastic. We need to be ahead of the curve. We don't want, to have any epidemic like we have with West Nile virus. Mr. Thompson, just for the record, the Dallas County Health and Human Services laboratory is now accepting, specimens from Collin, Dallas, Ellis, Fanning, Grayson, Henderson, Hunt, Kaufman, Navarro, Rains, Rockwell, and Van Zandt.
We're accepting them from medical providers in those counties, so we don't want any residents walking up to our building talking about they want to be tested. We're accepting specimens through the medical providers in those counties.
In those counties. Right. And we're looking with the expansion of these positions to be able to do the testing on the mosquitoes.
On the mosquitoes. That's, again, preliminary, that we're moving toward that, and we're stating it that that's our goal, just like it was with the human testing. That's why we're the first in the state to move forward with that process.
Well, and I just want to commend your staff for, the public health update, and of course Commissioner Price, who chairs that committee. I think it's excellent. As you can see, it comes in 10 different languages, and most importantly, I think it gives a good understanding of what we're going on, not to panic, because sometimes these are issues that people panic on as they travel. And the other thing, Mr. Thompson, I want to commend your staff. I know that you've been very busy with many different issues, and I think that this proves that Dallas County Health and Human Services Department is moving forward and ahead of the curve before things happen in our mosquito season, which, like Dr. Perkins just mentioned, is about to come.
Beginning in April.
Beginning in April. So,
and one last thing, and I didn't want to miss this, on the 8th floor. I want to make sure that, so can facilities put that on their agenda for the 8th floor? That's Dallas County Health and Human Services.
That's a lot of time. It was a goal. That was a good punch.
It's that. We got it.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
One thing on that.
Mr. Thompson, where can the people get the update?
There, I don't know. It's online.
Yeah, everything's on our web.
It's online. I know it's online.
We don't show up just for anything. We show up every month with our newsletter.
Yes, I mean, if some people want to pick up one, they go to the Health and Human Services.
They can go online. Treasurer Madrano gets about 100 every month, so she makes sure we get them out. So we definitely have a lot of venues to get them out. But if anybody contact me, we'll get it to them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you.
One thing on that's not on the CDC website, we have the Brazil Olympics coming. We have all kinds of things. There's all kinds of agreements between countries about travel and what they can say, but counties aren't bound by that. And so my strong recommendation to people who are pregnant or their partner's pregnant or they're thinking about becoming pregnant is, if you don't have to travel to an area where Zika is prevalent, don't go there. Spring break is coming, and if you don't have to go to these areas, do not go there because these are dangers. You can look in today's paper about what's going on in Colombia right now. Don't go there. It can't be clearer than that. We have our next item is our consent agenda.
No, our next item is the Dallas County Purchasing Department implementation 1295.
You're absolutely right. It's right here on there. Sorry, Dan.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
I'm bringing this item forward, or presentation, is because the purchasing has been receiving a lot of questions from offices and departments to include partnering agencies. So if you recall, in October, this past beginning of our fiscal year, Commissioners Court adopted our ethics policy. And within that policy, there was an area discussing disclosure of interested parties, which is act applicable to Chapter 2252 of the Texas Government Code. So this applies to parties before the county before they enter a contract. The disclosure must include a list of parties who has a controlling interest in the vendor or who actively participates in facilitating the contract or negotiating terms. So the required form will be available through the Texas Ethics website, the Commission. So this is applicable to contracts that are scheduled for renewals as well. The Act, which basically applies to only the contract that involves a government entity or state agency, which is required on actions or a vote by the governing body before the contract may be signed, or has a value of at least $1 million. So this is applicable as of January 1, 2016. Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you something. On the HB 1295, hasn't it been codified into 2252 of the Texas Government Code and became effective on January 1st,
2016.
2016.
Correct.
Now, so that's now in our code.
That is correct.
And the code number should be 2252.908.
That's correct.
Okay. So when this court adopted this code of ethics on October 6th, did we incorporate the policy of the new law? Did we incorporate all the requirements of the new law?
Well, we have a paragraph in there identifying that this is a requirement on page 3.
On page 3.
Correct.
It's entitled Disclosure of Interested Party. Right. And so it's part of the new law. We're there.
That's correct. Statutory requirement.
Okay.
So we have a clause
Go ahead on.
We have a clause in all our solicitations. So when we advertise all our formal solicitation, there's a requirement directing our vendors that they have to electronically go into the Texas Ethics Commission and fill it out electronically, where the commission assigns them a confirmation number, and then they have to print out that form and manually sign it and notarize it and get that form to us. And then we have to go into the Ethics Commission ourselves and validate it electronically also.
So am I correct to say that the governmental entity or the state agency may not enter into the contract unless the business entity submits the disclosure of interested party to the government entity or the state at the time that the business entity submits the signed contract?
That is
correct. To the government or the state agency. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so go ahead.
Okay, now this law applies to every contract that the court has to vote on before the contract is signed, or at least any contract that is at least $1 million.
Correct. That is correct. And the other issue is that we're finding that the departments are bringing forward contracts or renewals outside of purchasing that do not have these forms.
So the form that the vendor has to file, you've just explained that process to us.
Right.
So then you're going to be monitoring, and those that are missing these particular forms, you'll reroute.
Correct. So we're going to have to utilize our staff to go through the agenda and verify what court is awarding or executing or renewing.
But because it says that the certification of the filing shall not be later than the 30th day after the date the contract binds all the parties.
That's correct.
To the contract.
That's the validation part. So the vendor has to electronically submit the form at the time the contract is signed, but when you all vote on it, we have up to 30 days to validate it, and it's filed with the commission.
So it's I assume that you as a purchasing agent, your responsibility to negotiate the contract terms with the vendors and then enter into the contract.
Yes.
And so have we not adhered to this process If we don't adhere to this process, what is our recourse?
Well, the information I have on the enforcement that the vendors and local government authorities who knowingly fail to commit, they will commit a Class A, B, or C misdemeanor depending on the contract amount. So that contract may be declared void if we fail to do this process.
Okay, so what is your plan moving forward to ensure that the county stays in compliance?
Well, again, purchasing, when we bring these items forward ourselves that we procure and solicit, it's a standard practice. We already took care of that. But it's the contracts that are coming forward outside of purchasing.
Okay.
We have to verify and go through the agenda very clearly and see what court is approving and make sure that these vendors have these Form 1295s brought forward at the time.
But then is it
What
that,
contracts come outside of purchasing?
that you're working
professional
with
services.
Mr. Martin then to,
What I'd like to do is create a routing mechanism so all contracts will go to the DA's office. So what I'd like to do is the contracts that go through the DA's office have to be routed by SIRE through purchasing. Purchasing will have to review, make sure the form is there, then it goes onto the agenda. So
If I can address that, one of the issues that we have had is the way SIRE is set up, that's the way it's supposed to be. There is a checkbox for if a contract is involved. If the department does not check that box, it doesn't route to us. And so we are in the same position as purchasing, where we're trying to scour the agendas to make sure that everything has been caught. But
Can that
SIRE
change
does
for
have
me?
it set up where it should be checkboxed. And when that happens, the option that they should have is to route it for legal review.
If that had a mandatory field that it would come through us, that would help us tremendously because we found that you are awarding or approving renewals based on what's presented to you, and sometimes there's contracts that have expired that we can't renew, so we have to recompete. So we would catch all these activities, or we would have to rescind those recommendations.
so it sounds like there should be a discussion among Mr. Martin, Mr. Garcia.
All contracts need to be going through legal. I mean, that's, I'll talk to department heads about that. They all need to go through legal for verification.
Is the auditor's office going to have to audit before they make any payments also?
Yes, we review all of them and compare it to if there's an existing contract with insurance.
So if anything slips through purchasing, you're not going to make a payment unless we have those forms on file?
Yes.
Well, there's no way around it, Mr. Garza. We have to do this, and comply with everything. And
So those court orders that we get, we'll verify there's a 1295 before a purchase order is issued.
If I could just also add, in anticipation of this, I actually myself went down to Austin to a seminar that was delivered for the implementation of this, and we've provided those materials as well to purchasing to help them along with that. But in anticipation of this coming along, as I said, I myself even went down to Austin for the seminar to get the materials and to find out what they were saying at the state level.
So everyone's talking.
Yes, there's been direct communication for some time now. But I wanted to bring this forward because a lot of departments and offices are not familiar with this form. And so I want to make sure that we're in compliance.
So are you going to disseminate, how?
Well, I guess Daryl's going to do a briefing and...
You're going to
I'm
disseminate?
going to work with legal and with purchasing to create a mechanism to root all contracts and also disseminate this information to all the departments. And this is just to let departments know right now, and make sure that that box is checked for all contracts that are coming through the Commissioner's Court, and make sure they go through legal. So.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
We'll issue the broadcast of this presentation as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
All right, this takes us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, hold on. Any opposed?
Got to be able to vote on.
Okay.
No.
Hold on.
Motion carries.
Everybody can.
We'll now consider items J, court orders, J1 through 62, pulling 17, 18, because we have a speaker potentially, and 20 well, let me just ask the speaker real fast. Mr. Turner, are you here to speak on court order 18 or some other matter? And I'm sorry, Ms. Turner.
Ms. Turner,
Ms. Turner.
and she's not here. I talked to her about 5:30 this morning.
Okay, let me just do Miss Monica Turner, Miss Monica Turner, Miss Monica Turner. The speaker is not here, therefore we will not pull 18 for a separate vote. So there's need a motion on Court Order J1 through J62, pulling 17 and 20 for separate votes.
I have also just a slight amendment on item 13 that Mr. Bazan would like to read into the record, Judge.
Please.
On Court Order 13, we'd like to change the implementation date from April 1st to April 8th for the parking rate in the garage. And that's to align with the billing cycle. So we'd like to read into the record, approve a reduction in the parking rate at the Founders Plaza George Allen Garage, $40 per month for Dallas County employees, effective April 8th.
That's to coincide with
So it's a
payroll
week
dates.
after what we have
Yes.
discussed. Okay.
And on court order, let me just ask before we take a motion, on 17 we're going to pull and 20 we're going to pull, but 38, Kurt, who's driving? I've asked about this forever, so what has happened with regards to this this project?
The radios?
Yeah, radio.
With the City of Dallas?
Yeah.
Mark is here to address those issues.
Oh, I almost didn't recognize you.
Deputy Allen, looking sharp.
You must have had to go to the city. You don't dress like that to come see us.
I've got that from several this morning. We have finally got RFPs in from 3 respondents.
Okay.
And this is a court order to take us to phase 2, to where we can look at those proposals and see what we're going to bring forward to the court. We're a year late due to, we had some personnel issues at the City of Dallas that put us a year behind, so we should be a year further down the road. But we're coming to you for the next phase.
Okay.
So,
go ahead. No.
Are we looking at, how do you have this structured as far as what the amount that we're going to be paying?
Money. Yeah, that's where I'm going.
To the other point, there is no structure as it relates to, we don't know exactly how much it'll be, nor do we know how the mechanism or what options we'll have. Originally, we anticipated this to be a purchase, and we expected the price to be somewhere around $50 million. However, in watching what the City of Dallas does, and clearly we're just going to be doing, piggybacking on what they do, it does not look like they have funds to do a purchase. So as one of the reasons this RFP process took so long is they built in a lot of flexibility for lease purchases, lease management concept. So as we get closer to the city awarding, we'll be able to make a determination of how we want to go about it on our side.
I appreciate the fact that we're piggybacking on it, Mr. Rutherford, but at the end of the day, I want you to have a comfort level that we're making the best decision, even though we're kind of entering in.
Right. I don't think due to the cost and the complexity and the size of this project, we would be able to do it on our own. That's the reason why
I got that.
Clearly, it behooves us to partner with the city.
Whether it's $30 or $50 million we wind up doing, I want you to be, all in with regards to what you recommend to this court.
Right.
Because, I've seen some decisions, and down the line.
If they make a decision that I'm not comfortable with, I'll come tell you that. I'm not gonna buy off anything that's not going to serve our customers well, or recommend anything that's not going to serve our customers well.
Well, and I want to recognize you and the court again, similar to the public power pool. In 2011, one of my breakfasts with then City Manager Mary Soon, the estimate that was given on this was $57 million using 1985 technology radios. And the court stuck together. There were people that came to the court and came to you and said, "You got to do something now." City too, you got to do something now. The administration gave us more time to do something. We're seeing a whole breadth of new technology improvements come out that are making it better for our first responders and driving costs down. So by people standing together on that, we're going to save millions of dollars, potentially tens of millions of dollars, and our first responders are going to have a lot better system.
That was my comment.
We appreciate your consideration.
And we just want it to happen.
Yes, we want it to work. We've got to solve about 40 years worth of problems with this.
That's right.
It's only been 3 years, but
As a former commissioner friend of mine said, I don't want to be a 60-second hero and a lifetime fool. And one of the things is there are some people that are servicing $235 million annually on debt service on the $2 billion.
But nevertheless, I mean, the debt will continue to build, and it will continue to get more and more expensive as long as
This is a very expensive project.
Yeah, but this project has come down.
It has.
In terms of cost, and that's what the judge was saying a few minutes ago. Because we didn't leap in,
right.
The dollars have come down. The technology has changed. The dollars have compressed.
We expect this to be a very competitive. We haven't seen the prices yet, but all indications lead us to believe that this is going to be very competitive. May not be 50 million. Don't want to say yet because I haven't seen it, but this will be very, very competitive.
Yeah,
Thank you.
When we looked at this in 11 and reached out to our federal partners to ask for relief,
2007.
this was still using the 85 technology, basically radio technology. But DART had already started a year before that in 2010 to use cell phone spectrum technology, and we wanted to see how that worked out. And I think that's worked out relatively okay for them, whether we end up using that or not. And then what ended up happening is we are now seeing the spectrum band for radio and cell has greatly expanded, and it's allowed opportunities for Mark and his team to save us a bunch of money. So
we'll come back to you with hopefully a really good solution.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for
also a better radio, because those radios stink.
Yeah, that's 1985.
Mr. Price, your motion included 1 through 62, excluding 17 and 20 with modifications to 13 and 51. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I second it.
And I want to just mention, talking about being progressive and doing things that really help, the community. Item number 15 is El Centro College internship program in the Fire Protection and Safety Technology program. And I believe, the 3 students that got selected are here today. Juan Gamino, Jesus Perez, and Eric Sanchez. Are you here? Will you please stand up and be recognized? Thank you guys for being here. And of course, Fire Marshal de los Santos. Hey, he got asked and he said yes. And we really appreciate, you grooming the next generation of fire marshals. Thank you guys. Good luck. I know it's 320 hours, right? No pressure. But hey, trust me, time goes by fast. Thank you all for being here.
I'm just going to make a sidebar comment on, not you, Marshall, on 57. I want the court to understand, and I want everybody to understand, I'm not real happy about what's going on with that process.
Which one?
57. And I got that call Sunday afternoon in about a third church service. We're gonna have to do better. We've got to do better. That's unacceptable.
What exactly are you referring to, Commissioner?
Elite fuel cards.
The elite fuel card in the program. Well, the problem is the sheriff's department, went into anxiety because we were basically told on Sunday that we're going to be cut off.
Right, and I saw Mr.
And so
Marquez.
I got that call about 3:30 Sunday evening. Of course, I called Mr. Martin, and then and things just, and I now kind of track down what's going on. But look, we can't. I've been around here. That's $1 million contract probably plus, and that's just no way to run a ship. We augmented at Road and Bridge and was able to, be able to do a backup plan, but that just shouldn't happen. Right. And I understand stuff goes straight to the auditor, but we're back to processing again.
Right, that's right.
We got to do better. Right. And I understand there's some other things. Well, I'm not understanding to jump straight to you, but I understand why you didn't pay, because we hadn't done this. I got you. But my point is that we got to have a bridge. You can't do it.
And on that's something deputies and first responders, because I've got a department of first responders, have talked to me about, and that's the challenge when they're out, say in Garland, and they're having to, or they're out far away, and they need gas, and then the fleet station, the fuel station's 20 minutes away in downtown. Kind of not a good way to run a railroad. Something that I just happened to notice in thinking about this problem, and you'd have to check into this because all I know is I think it was Exxon, it might have been Mobil. There's one of the stations where you can have a key fob and you can touch the fob to something on the pump and that gets you gas. I don't know if that program keeps you from buying soft drinks or anything else. If we could have a contract that was with something like an Exxon or a Mobil or a Shell station where there's lots of them, then that would certainly be better to our first responders because, I mean, as a practical matter, if a first responder's out in the community and he needs to serve the community, and the choice is don't serve the community and go back and get fuel from someplace, he's going to come out of his pocket and get the fuel.
Okay.
Definitely, good points. And then last but not least, the 39, access to the control policy. You know, Chris Thompson, with facilities have been updating this policy. Last revised in 2008. It was about time. So, and with a lot of the concerns from the judges and security, I think it makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, to all your staff as well. I will be supporting this as well. Thank you, Judge.
I've got comments on a couple of the court orders, both of which I'll be supporting. I want to commend the Commissioner's Court and staff for Court Order 1, the reappraisal of property damage in the disaster area. This will allow the appraisers to go back out to the homes that were damaged by the tornado and lower those appraisals to the value of what the home was on January 1, 5 days after the tornado, which will save money for those homeowners. Why that's a really good thing is when you have homeowners insurance, everybody has a deductible. It's a bargain for deductible. It can be anywhere from 1% to 5% of the total value of the policy. So someone with a $200,000 home policy and a 3% deductible is looking to find a way to come up with $6,000 to meet that deductible. This will certainly help with that. I want to also commend our city partners who I believe have now all done this, and we're going to double check. And Doug, if I'm to ask you to do something else, please do double check. And I know Garland and Rowlett, and I'm 90% sure DeSoto, but check that. Have had the city council meetings and gone back to relax the building standards so that we're building up to code when the homes were built. And let me tell you why that's important that our cities did that. The way the policies work for these homes is if your home gets knocked down by a tornado, the insurance company has to bring the electrical and plumbing up to 2016 code. But if the policy was for a home with only 75% brick veneer, it had a hardy board or wooden back to it, they'll only replace it up to the 75% brick veneer. Then if we don't relax those standards in Rowlett, which are 100% brick veneer, then somebody's got to come out of their pocket to make the back of their home brick. So we want to make sure that that's done. Lastly, on this, by way of updating the court, we received word, as the court knows, we received word last week about the public assistance, and this means that all the cities will be able to assess those federal funds for picking up the debris, fixing the water towers, overtime for our first responders, etc. And a lot of which Dallas County has a good chunk of. We also received from our federal partners late last night, the state received, I haven't seen it yet, a voluminous electronic document of their assessment of the IA, the individual assistance to homeowners. We'll go back with the cities and try to interview people. It may very well be with our relaxed standards and with some of the relief that we're getting from third-party agencies, from the court here today and the cities at their city council meetings, that we won't have people enough people that are underinsured. The threshold, the general threshold that the FEMA uses is 800 damaged and destroyed homes that are uninsured in the state of Texas. Once we reach that threshold, they say the other 49 states should help us. We currently have 1,400 damaged or destroyed homes, but fortunately for us, but unfortunately for IA, those were newer homes with mortgages, and they had insurance on those homes, and so we aren't sure whether, when we do this resurvey and resubmit to the feds, whether we're going to reach that IA threshold. But we're going to look again now that we've got further time out, and we're going to call everybody and say, based on what you're seeing now, Mr. Smith or Mrs. Jones, do you believe that you're uninsured, and what's your documentation? So that's the plan on that. But we appreciate everybody working, and we appreciate all of our partners getting working with the state to get the presidential disaster declaration for the cities. So the other one I wanted to commend staff and the Commissioners Court on that is near and dear to my heart and near and dear to my staff's heart is the reduction in the parking rate at the Founders Plaza garage. I like this for a variety of reasons, but one of the main reasons I like it is we have a lot of reclasses and reorgs that deal with the top 10% of our director and below level people. But this parking reduction will be a real help to our clerks, to the people at the bottom of our pay scale. That $90 a month was a big deal to people. And I think the theory that would push people to DART when they had to drop their kids off at daycare and some of the other things, this is more in keeping with really helping these middle class, families and moms make ends meet. So I really applaud folks for doing that today. And that's the end of my comments.
And that's why we just mentioned about the deadline to apply, right, Mr. Bazan?
Yes, sir.
Call the question.
All right. Unless there's further comments, question's been called. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This takes us to Court Order 17. If I can get a motion in a second and maybe staff to lay that out, and then we can hear from, we have to go to executive
session. I thought we were going to executive session before we do any type.
Yeah, that's the recommendation from staff.
Anything on that.
That's the recommendation from staff that we take this step.
Okay, well then let's do 20. Let's get rid of it.
Wait. But we do have people want to speak.
Yeah.
And so I
Mr.
don't
Miller.
want to we've tied them up. I want them to be able to come and speak. So I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules with regards to our speakers, because it is a matter that's on our agenda, number one. Number two, we're going to take it up in executive session. So I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rule.
And I second.
And that has to be unanimous. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And our speaker on this matter is Mr. Clifton Miller. Will the bailiff please read the rules of decorum for Mr. Miller, please, and everyone else will speak later. Clifton, please go ahead.
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors are registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all clause is to be kept brief in observance of constraints. Disruptive visitors and registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 3813, 4201, and 4205. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion of any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
Go ahead.
Commissioner and court members, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to speak now. As a small business owner, I do need to get back to work.
Give your name and your address, please.
I'm Clifton Miller, Managing Principal of Symmetrics. My office address is 1412 Main Street, the Adolphus Tower. I requested to address the Commissioner's Court this morning regarding the revised MWBE program recommendations developed by the Dallas County Administrator, Darrell Martin, Assistant County Administrator, Gordon Heichel, MWBE Coordinator, Patrice Richardson, and Purchasing Director, Daniel Garza. For the record, I'm a nationally recognized subject matter expert in supply chain inclusion. I'm a former corporate practitioner for a Fortune 50 company. I'm the founder of a 15-year-old certified minority business headquartered in Dallas, Texas. My purpose this morning is to express my support for the revised MWBE program recommendations developed by the county staff and the interim MWBE Advisory Committee during a working session on Friday, January 29th, 2016. I also want to express my appreciation and respect for the collaborative and cooperative mindset and professionalism demonstrated by the above referenced staff during the review of the original recommendations and the development of the revised recommendations. I would like for the court and all here and staff to understand the critical importance of Dallas County's actions in this matter to MWBEs across the state and to other public entities. Currently, other public entities are looking at disparity studies, and it is very important that we do not set a precedent here at Dallas County that might adversely impact the actions, the opportunities for MWBEs as the City of Dallas and NTTA in particular look at conducting their own disparity studies. The occasion for the need to develop revised recommendations was with the original disparity study as this court was briefed on December 15th. In that briefing and the subsequent documents that were published, subject matter experts, including legal opinion. I am not an attorney, but we had attorneys review that the original recommendations and included in the disparity study. And there were significant flaws in that study. Number one, with the data collection methodology, which had a very limited sampling and it required self-reporting and lacked any real tracking and reporting authenticity measures. Number two, the custom census approach, which was developed and implemented, was flawed in that it had a very limited sample of the NAICS codes. It did not disaggregate the NAICS codes by spin stream, which is a best practice. And that, in fact, in turn then drove the utilization percentages, which drove the recommendations. So we really want to express our appreciation to staff for heeding the recommendations. We also want, or heeding the concerns and then working collaboratively. And we also want to express our appreciation to each one of you members of the court for giving consideration to the written documentation we presented, which led to the revised recommendations, which we now support. Thank you very much.
Mr. Miller, let me ask you, there are other people that have joined you here today. Do you think that you basically parlay the census of those individuals who are here?
Commissioner Price, it was, I do. On the front end of the process, as we reviewed the post-briefing December 15th, we actually collaborated with 9 MWBE advocacy organizations in Dallas County. We submitted a letter to the Commissioner's Court. I think each one of you should have received a letter with 9 signatures and logos documenting the concerns with the original study. We've been representatives of those organizations, not all 9, but representatives of those organizations then met January 29th with Administrator Martin and his staff. And so what you have is a consensus of opinion regarding the revised recommendations.
And just for the record, and thank you, Mr. Miller, for being here today, those 9 organizations were the Black Contractors Association, represented by John Proctor, Women's Business Council Southwest by Cheryl McCain, John Martinez, representing the Regional Hispanic Contractors Association, Clifton Miller, representing Symmetrics, Rick Ortiz, Greater Dallas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Saren Gracie from the City of Dallas, William Monings with the Dallas Black Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Margot Posey, which is here today. Ms. Posey, will you please stand up? with the DFW Minority Supplier Council, and Mr. Dan O'Bannon, Law Offices of Don O'Bannon. And I did mention John Martinez with that.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, John is here?
Yeah.
Oh, John.
Mr. Martinez is here, Ms. Posey is here, and Mr. Proctor was here earlier. He did have to leave.
Well, and two others as well who didn't make the meeting but reviewed the information. Fred Perpall, who is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Citizens Council, which is primarily a large business group, and Arcelia Acosta, who is a board member of the Dallas Regional Chamber. And if I could, I'd like to read for the court a short email that I got from Arcelia about this last night. And it just reads, Clay and Fred, it's to me and Fred Perpall, it is clear that the disparity study is not a document for which our organizations believe it to be an accurate assessment of MWBE in Dallas County. Their comments are compelling and factual in every example they cited. These groups are on the ground and have a variety of experience with MWBE programs, especially those programs that are good faith effort based. If the plan is to wait a couple of years and then go back out for a disparity study, let's plan well in advance and convene others to provide this same the same group would be a big help. Provide feedback in this same group would be a big help. And there's something in here I wanted to read about our staff. Essentially, and I've lost it, but essentially I'll paraphrase that she was impressed with staff's recommendations on going forward, and that she was in agreement with the group that met with staff.
We'll get a copy of that, Judge.
Sure.
And to the court, frankly, as a subject matter expert, I was highly, highly concerned when I read the original study and that staff was recommending this, and I did not know what to expect when we walked into that meeting on January 29th. I have rarely been involved in a more collaborative, cooperative session, and I came out of that, and I have a high standard, but I came out of that with a high degree of respect and appreciation for what staff has done.
And I appreciate you and all the collaboratives. We have a saying on the streets called "Captain Save whatever," and the problem is that everybody feels like they want to save us, or they need to save us. I just really appreciate the fact that you guys have collaborated, understand your own interest going forward. So kudos, and Mr. Burrell, thank you very much for being an integral part of this as well.
More importantly,
why everybody smile when I said Captain Save?
I don't know, Commissioner.
You don't know what it is.
I have no idea, but I do know something. But I do know something, that this is, long time coming, and something that I'm very glad that we have the opportunity to work with the best when it talks to minority participation.
Right.
I just leave this with the court. What you do is very, very, very important regarding that disparity study. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Especially
you.
after,
Thank all of you.
and of course, to staff, Mr. Martin, Mr. Heiko, Daniel Garza, Rosa, everybody who worked real hard. It's only been 2 years, but who's counting? I'm glad we're finally at this point. And with that, I'm ready to go to executive session. Mm-hmm. Captain? Oh, well. It's almost fun.
Yeah, shall we knock out, let's knock out the rest, because we don't have much.
But you haven't got anything. But,
yeah, we have 20.
And,
yeah.
Right.
So can I get a motion on Court Order 20?
Second.
I'm sorry.
Any discussion? I've got a quick comment. I'm abstaining in this because Kevin Wiggins, who is an AmeriCorps Vista working in my office, is the son of a named partner in the law firm. But I have high regard for everyone involved and shouldn't be perceived as anything but abstaining because of one of my shared employees is the son of a lawyer there.
To make a motion, Commissioner Cantrell seconded.
Okay.
All those, any further comment? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I abstain. Motion carries 4 to none with 1 abstention. All right, so this takes us there. Let me see what we got left.
That's pretty good, Justin. Yeah.
This takes us to our, we're going to, we have our speakers in our closed session. Do we want to go ahead and, Commissioner Garcia, you requested going to closed session. Is it okay if we knock out the speakers?
No, speakers. Let's take
All right, our first speaker is Mr. Robert Earl Williams.
He's not here.
Mr. Robert Earl Williams, Mr. Robert Earl Williams. Our next speaker is Mr. Darrell and Andre Humphrey. Mr. Darrell Andre Humphrey.
Where are they?
Mr. Darrell Andre Humphrey. Our next, yeah, well, that's right. And that concludes our public speakers. This court will adjourn for closed session momentarily to discuss matters under Chapter 551 of the Government Code. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in a subsequent open session.
Okay, hold on.
We are.
Wait, Judge.
Yep.
Hey, hold on, I gotta get back to the bottom then. Oh, my.
No action necessary as per the closed session. Court stands adjourned.